race day. The Cup stars trying to tame the Wild Wild West.
Today, NASCAR's finest look for a golden run in the Golden State. I'll preview today's California 500. Now to Bob Dillner in Charlotte.
The Busch Series with a well-needed weekend off. Coming up, we'll analyze what's shaping up to be a fantastic title bout. Now to ground-pounded Bob Fry in Dallas.
They turned up the heat, literally and figuratively, at the Castrol Nationals in Texas.
For the first time, our newsmaker of the week, not a key player, but a power figure nonetheless. The restrictor plate doesn't cause the big pileups. Hey, guess what? It's the month of May, and we're ready to fire them up on race day, Sunday, May the 3rd, 1998. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Race Day. I'm Rick Benjamin. Great to be back with you in studio in Charlotte for the month of May. The Winston Cup Series out west today for the second consecutive year. The California 500 at Fontana later this afternoon. We've done our check of the garage area this morning. Here's what some of the teams are busy with. David Green blew a motor late yesterday afternoon in the 96 car, the Caterpillar Chevrolet. They put a new engine in that machine. Dale Jarrett not feeling well. He has the flu, but he will run the Ford Quality Care Taurus today. And the weather, as you might expect in Southern California, sunny and in the low 70s. Not much of a concern, but the Winston Cup team's busy with final preparations leading up to the California 500 later today. Now, as we mentioned, this does mark the second year that the Winston Cup Tour has headed to the brand new California Speedway. Last year, Jeff Gordon won the battle and took a shortcut to victory lane through the grass at Roger Penske's very smooth 2-mile track at Fontana. Now, this is a home game for the captain's teams. They're leading the Cup points, but still looking for win number 1 this season. Race Day's Matt Yoakum is in Fontana for us. Matt, what are the teams busy with and concerned about this race day?
Well, Rick, last week teams had to deal with the dreaded restrictor plate. This week they will have to perfectly calculate fuel mileage for a chance at victory. But first, the competition has to deal with defending winner Jeff Gordon, who starts today where he ended last June, first.
Really kind of surprised me. I knew that these guys brought a great car here like they do every weekend, but I didn't know we were going to adapt to the racetrack this quickly again. And, you know, I thought we had a pretty good shot at the pole the last time we were here, but I tell you what, all day long I felt like we were a contender for that pole, and it was great to be able to get it and start up front now. Now it comes the really tough part, trying to keep it up front.
Now that we are back to running the unrestricted motors, qualifying looks a little more normal with the super teams back up front. 6 of the top 10-point chasers start 10th or better.
It'd be real special to win one here for Roger. We got a good car. We had a real good last practice. It really handled great, and we made a lot of changes, just trying to find out something that would make the car better, and we found a lot of neat stuff, and we're all set on go right now.
We have a great car, you know. It's working well, but, you know, you've got fuel mileage, you've got pit stops, you've got 500 miles. It's a lot more complex than today's race.
You know, last year it come down to fuel mileage, and, you know, so we're a little worried about that. But, you know, hopefully that doesn't play into the game, and, you know, we'll just go racing and just see what happens.
Yeah, our Bell South Chevy's unloaded fast. We've been running the top 3 since we've been here. Really don't know what happened in qualifying, but we slowed down a little bit. You know, when you can unload and run fast, normally you're going to have a pretty good weekend. So we're really optimistic, and I think we're going to have a good weekend.
You know, it's the same car I ran here a year ago, and it ran awful well for us. Of course, the rules are a little bit different this year. I feel pretty good about it. I think we get it working pretty good.
It has been a tough weekend for Dale Jarrett. Besides battling the flu, he crashed on Friday during qualifying and will start a backup car 36th, but the team is still confident.
The car seems to be okay. It's real tight right now. I mean, we were worried about the car being loose. Obviously, we didn't have a whole lot left on the truck, so if we wrecked another one, we were going to have to go to different resources. So, you know, we worked miracles overnight from Martinsville, so we'll work some more miracles tonight.
Todd Bodine was one of 4 drivers to crash this weekend. He wasn't seriously injured, but called on Wally Dallenbach to qualify and race the car.
I was just leaving the racetrack yesterday, go back to the hotel, and those guys grabbed me and said, hey, man, we need you to drive our car. So it's hard because, you know, these guys had this car all set up for Michigan. They had the computer on it and the whole deal because they were going to test at Michigan next week. So they had to thrash to change the setup and try to, you know, find a bunch of speed out of it. And it's difficult, but like I said, we got in the show, and, you know, we'll make the best of it.
A number of quality teams begin possible winning drives from deep in the field, including the man in black, Dale Earnhardt, who starts dead last.
Well, starting provisionals, you know, not a good chance. You know, we're trying to get the car working good, but there's a lot of room for improvement. You know, we got to work on it.
Although it may sound like a used car commercial, a fast car and good gas mileage will be the key to victory today. Unfortunately for the competition, it sounds like Jeff Gordon may have both. Rick?
Well, Matt, Todd Bodine doesn't run today. What about some of the other walking wounded in the garage?
Well, Mike Skinner qualified the low Chevy, but Mike Dillon will take over the driving duties at the first caution. Wally Dallenbach pulls one race duty for Todd Bodine, and then will take over the Bud Chevy at the Winston Open, and then replacing Randy LaJoy after Dover. I talked to Steve Park last night from his home in Charlotte, North Carolina. Steve told me that his rehab is coming along excellent. He hopes to be testing a car sometime in mid-June, and hopefully making his comeback at either the Pepsi 400 or the first race in Loudon.
Well, that is great news for Steve Park. Thanks, Matt Yoakum in Fontana. We'll have more from California in a couple of moments. They posted a $2.3 million purse in California today. The entry list, 47 cars. 4 teams have to load up and go home without starting. Here's our list of those on the outside. Looking in, Dave Marcus misses the show for the 7th time this year. Hud Strickland has failed to make 4 races now. Rich Bickle 0 for 2 in the 98 car, or at least he's missed 2 starts in the 98 car, subbing for Greg Sachs. Tony Raines has tried twice in the Kurt Rohrig Taurus, and he has failed to start in either event. One other familiar face did not make the trip to Fontana this weekend. After failing to qualify 1 week ago at Talladega, Diamond Ridge Motorsports team owner Gary Bechtel deciding to shut down his Winston Cup team, the 29 car, for Jeff Green. Bechtel says it was a difficult decision to come to.
We found that the hole's a little deeper than we anticipated, Rick. That's the bottom line. And we thought by taking off some time and focusing and being better prepared that we could come back and be competitive. And Talladega demonstrated we weren't ready yet.
Jeff Green does remain under contract. He's free to take another ride. Bechtel says the move does not affect his plan to run Elliott Sadler in 5 Winston Cup events this year before going full-time in 1999. The other shoe dropped at Team Sabco this week. Team owner Felix Sabates releasing Wally Dallenbach Monday, even though Dallenbach got the 46 car up front for several laps at Talladega.
We felt like we weren't going anywhere, and Wally and I sat down on Monday, decided the best thing for both of our career was to go separate ways. We put Morgan Shepherd in the car for a few races. We're going to have Tommy Kendall drive the road courses, so we're trying to rebuild that team.
So Shepherd, who sat in for Dallenbach first at Texas, moves into the 46. Now Mike Dillon is scheduled to fill in for Mike Skinner this weekend in the Lowe's Chevrolet for Richard Childress, but Skinner may go part way today. And at Texas, Speedway officials moving quickly to get track reconstruction underway this week. Bulldozers busy tearing out 1.5 miles of asphalt, getting ready to lay down a new surface in a slightly new shape. It leaves driver and NASCAR concerns and should cure the drainage troubles at Texas as well.
We feel like we've identified where the water is. The grandstand itself is kind of holding a pool of water back, and it has to find some way out, and the easiest way is at each end of the grandstand, which of course is where the turns are.
Have to finish up the work pretty quickly. The Indy Racing League and the NASCAR Craftsman trucks are both due to race at Texas June 5th and 6th. That's only 5 weeks from now. And there is plenty more to come on race day this Sunday. The NHRA Warriors invading Texas. Some big numbers on the scoreboard for some of the top stars this weekend. 1 week after incredible on-track action at Talladega, questions about the restrictor plate. It's our newsmaker this week. Our Race Day Rewind, Michael Andretti can tell you, hey, those walls, they don't bend. We, though, are going to take a break.
Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. And by Castrol Syntec, the active lubricant.
Back on race day, time for our Mopar Performance Update. You know, it's getting to be the meat of the season for the NHRA's touring pros. Warm temperatures and sunny skies this race day for the straight liners. They're in Texas for the Castrol Nationals at Billy Meyer's Motorplex near Dallas. And nobody is hotter than the Joe Gibbs pilots, Corey McLenithan and Cruz Pedregon. TNN's Bob Fry is in Texas. Bob, pretty warm down there, huh?
Rick, it's one of those very strange deals. You get hazy, hot, humid weather, a lot of bright sunshine and blue skies, ideal for the race fans to watch, but not great weather for the racers here. We'll tell you a little bit about it as we take a look at qualifying. Joe Amato, who has done everything but win a race this year, took his Tenneco team car to the top spot in Top Fuel again. It's the 3rd time he's been #1 this season. 4.630, and he just did grab the top spot away from the rookie, Doug Coletta, who's had his best showing ever. In the funny car category, as advertised, John Force and Cruz Pedregon duking it out. But the big green machine of Joe Gibbs, the Interstate Batteries car, a little bit too much for everybody, including Force and his Elvis car here this weekend. Cruz ran 4.85 to take the top spot for the 4th time this year. He's almost a 10th of a second out in front of John Force. Now, the Pro Stock cars were the ones most bothered by the weather conditions over the last couple of days. It was Warren Johnson at the top of the pack with his Good Wrench Service Plus car. He ran 7 flat. It's the first time this year, Rick, we have not seen any 6-second times here during qualifying. Warren, you're sitting at the top of the pack. Nobody ran really fast, but everybody's relative, and you were the quickest guy of the bunch.
Exactly. The racing is just as intense. In fact, the racing is absolutely as good, even though the numbers aren't as great. It's just close racing. Everybody has to work as hard as possible just to produce a win here.
One thing everybody's going to have to work really hard at here again, Rick, is to try to beat Warren Johnson, try to stop that juggernaut as he looks to win a 4th Winston Championship.
All right, thanks, Bob Fry in Texas for us. WJ ran 197 miles an hour. That's a couple of miles an hour off his pace this year. Let's turn the clock back for you now. Last Sunday, Mother Nature, the big winner at Nazareth for the kart champ cars. They had to wait until Monday to try the tough 5-turn mile, while NASCAR's 2 top divisions tackled the highest banks of them all at Talladega Superspeedway. It was a 3-day weekend of racing and plenty of wrecking, too. Here's Randy Pemberton with our Race Day Rewind.
Joe Nemechek survived Saturday's wreck-filled 300-miler at Talladega to become the first 2-time winner of the '98 Busch Grand National season. During the first big crash, the windshield of Stanton Barrett's machine ended up in the grandstands, slightly injuring 4 spectators. There were 7 yellow flags in all. Among the drivers collected, 2-time defending series champ Randy LaJoie and pre-race points leader Dale Earnhardt Jr. Sunday's Winston Cup race was going along clean and green and looked as if it just might go caution-free for the 2nd straight year. But on lap 109, the field got bunched up after a caution for debris on the track. That set up the 2nd yellow, which set the stage for the biggest wreck of the season. It all started when Ward Burton, running 5th, got his left side tires down on the flat going through the tri-oval, which kicked him up into the left rear of Dale Earnhardt.
Somebody spun me. You know it's going to happen. It's just when, who's going to be involved, and what causes it.
I think I split up a little bit and got in the back of the 3-car, right in the side of him. I didn't get him by much, but, you know, hell, it doesn't take much.
You're just sitting there bumper to bumper and waiting for somebody to touch. And it's just, you know, we have a nervous breakdown after this race.
Coming to Talladega to see a race and a wreck not happening is like going to the beach and the ocean's not there anymore. It's going to happen if you come to Talladega.
Although the carnage collected a total of 20 cars, only Earnhardt, who had some 2nd-degree burns, and Elliott, who had a bruised sternum, were hurt. The race was red flagged for 27 minutes. The final 40 laps of the afternoon saw 5 or 6 cars fight it out for the win. Bobby Labonte put himself in the right place at the right time and passed his brother Terry with 2 to go, and then held off Jimmy Spencer for the victory. Bobby's 2nd win of the year moved him from 11th to 7th in points, but even he was just happy to get out of Talladega in one piece.
It don't matter on a restrictor plate race where you finish. If you finish, you know you've done good because, again, it wasn't a good day for a lot of people today.
In Nazareth, Pennsylvania, 32-year-old Jimmy Vasser grabbed the lead from Greg Moore on lap 194 of 225 when Moore pitted for his 3rd time in the Bosch Grand Prix. Alex Zanardi was also forced to make 3 pit stops in the race, which was marred by 6 caution flags for 78 laps. Zanardi and Moore, who was in a backup car, ended up finishing 2nd and 3rd. Robbie Gordon's return to kart netted him a 6th-place run, while Mauricio Gruzelman, Mark Blundell, and Michael Andretti, who led for 102 laps, all fell victim to hard crashes. Most blamed the cold 50-degree temperatures and the lack of tire grip for the multitude of yellow flags. With the Race Day Rewind, I'm Randy Pemberton.
All right, thanks a lot, Randy. We'll have more on Joe Nemechek's week coming up in a couple of moments. There's plenty more ahead on Race Day this Sunday. One of the scariest days in NASCAR history at Talladega 11 years ago. It gave Winston Cup drivers a lot to think about.
You know, I've never seen a restrict.
Welcome back to Race Day. Turning a new page this week. So far, our newsmaker of the week has been a key player in big league racing. Drivers, team owners, major names. But after last weekend's wreck-marred NASCAR events at Talladega, we're focusing on a piece of equipment. A couple of dollars worth of aluminum, which has cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in wrecked race cars. The engine restrictor plate is our newsmaker of the week.
Here comes Bobby Allison, car number 22. He and Crater both pass Marcus. Baker moves up alongside Marcus. And it is Allison going to the lead. He's come from nowhere.
Okay, a terrible crash.
Richard Petty's car has turned over.
It's an issue you hear plenty about 4 times every season. Restrictor plate racing, the main course at Daytona and Talladega. And when a race is marred at either track by a huge wreck, the reaction is strong.
That's what happens with restrictor plate racing. You see it a lot. That's nothing new. You guys know that.
I got a race with restrictor plates, but I'm going to complain about them until the day I die. Maybe they wanted some excitement. They got more than they bargained for.
The plate has been around nearly 10 years, although the idea of restricting airflow into Winston Cup carburetors to cut horsepower first surfaced in 1970. The Ford Torinos and Mercury Cyclones, the Dodge Chargers and Plymouth Superbirds pushed big track speeds close to 200 miles an hour. TNN Motorsports analyst Buddy Baker was a top driver back then and recalls those early 1.25 inch restrictors used at all tracks were easy to cheat on.
They had like, well, they call them thimbles, and they put them in the intake to cut down the amount of air and fuel that went into the motor. It's a basic premise that the restrictor plate uses, but of course, like anything, we figured a way to make it out of a metal that would melt during the race, and you were sitting there with open carburetor running 3/4 throttle so you wouldn't get caught.
The notion of restricting Winston Cup speeds didn't surface again until the late 80s, with cars again at 200 miles an hour and more at Daytona and Talladega. First weekend in May, 1987, Bill Elliott steers his Melling Ford to the pole at 212.8 miles an hour. And then just 21 laps into the race, a frightening incident. Bobby Allison's Buick cuts a tire through the tri-oval, goes up into the front stretch wall, into the catch fencing, and nearly into the seats, convincing everyone speeds needed to be cut. So restrictor plates became standard equipment on Winston Cup cars at Daytona and Talladega in time for the Spring, Alabama event in 1989. It trimmed speeds to the low 190s, helping keep cars on the track. The move also narrowed the margin between the best and the rest, setting up today's drafts with 20 to 30 cars. When the cars make contact, drivers can pay a heavy price. Incidents like these, especially the late Neil Bonnet's Talladega wreck in '93, add in Dale Earnhardt's wreck at Talladega, and the Ricky Craven incident there too. Just a couple of examples of something some drivers say needs to change.
We made the racing safer for 180,000 people that sat in the grandstands, but we made it twice as dangerous for the 42 participants or 43 participants. So, you know, it's just there's got to be a balance in there somewhere where it's a little bit safer for the guys and the people in the stands and a little bit safer for the guys on the racetrack.
So a quick review of restrictor plate history, and later we'll sample driver reaction to the current state of plate racing. We'll also take a look at what NASCAR might do to change things and enhance safety. And we're just getting warmed up this Sunday on race day. The Busch Series stars take this weekend off. We'll see who's hot and who's not in the wake of that rough Saturday in Alabama.
Just plain dumb. That's all there is to it. Kind of tough to shake that monkey that you guys have kind of got on your back a little bit.
Monkey, yeah, it's a gorilla.
It's been a fast early year for Joe Nemechek in the Busch cars, but last week's win plenty costly. We'll tell you why when race day rolls on.
Mack Trucks are furnished by Clement Chevy Mack Sales. For all your truck and tractor needs, call Clement at 1-800-369-MACK. Race Day, brought to you by LA West Luxury Vans, the world's ultimate sport utility vehicle. LA West Luxury Vans, available at select Ford dealerships nationwide. Call us at 800-786-VANS. By Featherlight, the official trailer of NASCAR, IndyCar, World of Outlaws, IRL, and a major sponsor of NHRA. Remember to call Featherlight for all your trailer needs at 800-800-1230.
Welcome back. NASCAR's Busch Series competitors have been plenty busy this year, all going after the crown that Randy LaJoie has held the last 2 years. He has not had a banner season so far. Some new faces, though, have found their way to victory lane in the new year. Good young talent, along with a veteran. The series taking its first break this week since Daytona. Bob Diller says the break comes just as the title fight is starting to heat up.
Look at the top of the Busch Series point brigade, and you have a little new and a little of old. In only his first full season on the tour, Matt Kenseth heads up the series by just 26 points over veteran Mike McLaughlin. Magic Shoes is enjoying his best ever Busch start. but he and all the other drivers are still playing second fiddle to Kenseth's 7 top 10 finishes in 9 events.
Everything's going good. We got the points lead now. We got a weekend off. All the boys got everything done in the shop. Everything's ready to go, and we had a real good test of loading here a couple weeks ago, so I'm really looking forward to going there.
It seems like I'm a slow starter or whatever. I just never seem to get off on the right foot. This year it seems we've had a lot more consistency in our runs to where it's kept us in the hunt in the points race, and hopefully we'll be able to carry that on through the rest of the year.
That duo, plus young guns Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Elliott Sadler, have all scored victories early this season. In fact, Buckshot Jones is the only guy in the top 5 without a victory. Also minus a win in '98 is 2-time defending champ Randy LaJoie, who has had a roller coaster season at best. Compared to last year, LaJoie has 3 less top 10s, 3 less top 5s, and 2 less wins, less than stellar marks for the championship team.
We ain't going to change nothing. We just need that monkey off our back. You know, we got a great team. Everybody's been here for, 3 years, 4 years, and there's nothing wrong with the base motorsports team. We just need some luck, and we had good luck for 3-4 years here, and it ran out here. Now we got to create it again and go on and we'll start winning some races.
LaJoie has been pulling double duty this year, also filling in for the injured Ricky Craven on the Cup side. The Cup boys have invaded the Busch Series 7 times this year, but have not enjoyed as much success as in '97, when they scored all but 3 wins at this point in the season.
You know, a lot of times they come in and they kick our butt, but it just makes us work all that much harder. Like I say, the good days are the days that you come home in front of them.
McLaughlin has 2 rookie teammates this year. Mike Cope has posted the best finish by a freshman, a 7th at Hickory. Matt Hutter leads Andy Santerre in the standings, despite taking provisionals to make 4 of the first 9 events.
You know, you're not happy whenever you have to take a provisional, but then, to run 300 miles at a place, you're more ready when you go back next time, so it's better than going home, because you get the experience and then you're ready for it next time.
So the Busch Series runners are resting up a bit this weekend after a brutal race in Talladega. Next up, Mike McLaughlin tries to make it 2 in a row at Loudon, New Hampshire, a race you'll see live right here on TNN. In Charlotte, I'm Bob Dillner.
All right, thanks, Bob. Joe Nemechek's Busch Series win last week at Talladega, maybe a little tainted, you might say. Nemechek and crew chief Brian Patty fined $5,000 each, putting stop nuts on the rear shocks of the Bell South Chevy to try to keep them from rebounding. The piece is found in violation of the NASCAR rule, which prohibits any parts or equipment that were not approved by NASCAR prior to the race. Nemechek keeps the win, his 2nd of the year on the Busch Series, plus the 185 points. Well, Nemechek was one of more than 24 Busch Series runners taking time this past week to go testing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. A long list of drivers looking to unseat Joe as the king of the Memorial Day Saturday 300-miler. Point leader Matt Kenseth among those running the test. Buckshot Jones was there at barrier 2. Buckshot among the drivers bringing out a new car to Charlotte.
Just changing shocks and springs. We're more working like I'm maybe qualifying, not so much trying to get a race set up, but you can be the fastest car here in practice. You come back to race and you can be one of the slowest. This track changes so much, but it's just good to come down here and shake them down.
Now, several teams did walk away from the CMS test with wrinkled race cars, including the Dr. Pepper machine of Jimmy Foster, Dave Blaney, and the Amoco Pontiac. Kelly Denton also learned how tricky turn 4 at Charlotte can be. He spun and clipped the wall late in the session. A little further west, Elliott Sadler was busy testing, the first Busch Series driver to run at Pikes Peak International Speedway in preparation for the June event there on the 1-mile track. The Busch Series goes to Pikes Peak for the first time this year. We're going to take a break on race day. Our weekly reminder now to check out our website, which is country.com. Your place for all things country and all things in motorsports. Our country.com question of the week this season, which Winston Cup race winner has started in the worst position? Find out. Log on to race stats in the motorsports section of country.com. And we will be right back. Hey, we're firing up for the second half hour of race day. We'll have more on the impact of the restrictor plate in Winston Cup, what it means now and what might happen next.
It's been a rocky road for Roush Racing over the past 2 races. Can the Fab 5 game redemption? I'll talk to the Roush commander.
And the next step on the road to Indy will meet Ari Luyendyk, hoping to win his 3rd 500-mile race. All that and more just ahead. Welcome back. We are live in Charlotte. NASCAR's restrictor plate, the subject of plenty of debate these past several days. after the wrecks last weekend at both the Busch Series Touchstone 300 and the Winston Cup Diehard 500 at Talladega. Our Randy Pemberton says many in the sport are concerned about the high cost of plate racing in dollars and in people.
Restrictor plate racing, without question, contributes to tremendous multi-car crashes at both Talladega and Daytona. Last week's wreck, even by conservative estimates, cost competitors over $1 million. But simply building and maintaining restrictor plate engines costs teams a ton of money.
We had a team meeting yesterday with our financial people. We've spent a third of our engine budget a year to run 4 races. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
So the costs are considerable, the crashes are inevitable, and a change is probable. But for now, plates are a part of the sport, and it's the drivers that have to race them. For them, it's gut-wrenching, nerve-wracking, and they just as soon do away with them.
It's like the start every lap, because the group, you know, until green flag pit stops, you're running in this big group, 40 cars and length of the football field. And so every lap you're feeling, well, if I get through this corner now, we'll have a good day. If I get through the next corner, we'll be okay. But even at Talladega, wrecks can happen going down the straightaway, so it's a constant, that constant fear or concern of just getting through that next segment at Talladega that you deal with every lap. Talladega pushes drivers to the limit because every lap, every corner, every straightaway, that's how you feel. And that's when the driver makes the mistake, makes the wrong move, and the wreck happens.
Jeff Bodine failed to make the Talladega field. Watching the race from a fan's perspective, he answers the question we all know already, but don't want to admit.
I'm going to be as honest as I can. I was waiting for the wreck. I was hoping a wreck would happen. It's exciting, guys. It's like seeing a guy knock a guy out in a boxing match. You're waiting for that knockout punch. You don't want him to get hurt. You don't want him to lose his mind or be disabled. But you want to see him get knocked down. You want to see his eyes go around in circles and he can't stand up or wobbles. I was waiting for a wreck. I wanted to see it because that is what makes Talladega exciting. I didn't want to see anyone get hurt, but I wanted to see a wreck.
Exciting and costly, certainly. A little later on, a look at what changes there might be to maintain safety and competition on NASCAR's biggest tracks. Well, they are clearly one of Winston Cup's super teams. Roush Racing now fielding 5 Winston Cup cars, 2 Busch Series teams with lots of success, but lately things have not gone so well for NASCAR's big team. Just one top 15 in the past 10 combined starts. Matt Yoakum tells us the Roush squadron is determined to get back on the road to success starting right now.
The Roush boys have been riding a roller coaster at 98. Mark Martin has 2 wins, while Ted Musgrave, Chad Little, and Johnny Benson have recorded career bests. But the past 2 races have been a rough road, filled with bumps, blown engines, and just bad luck, for a team average finish of 30th.
It's been that way. I looked at that too, and it's like, okay, I got a real good run going, and then something will happen, you know, and you'll finish 38th, 35th, or whatever, like in Texas. It's kind of tough to deal with a little bit because you know everything's there, but you just don't have the luck to pull it through to the end.
It's been real frustrating because we have run better than we've ever run. If you looked at our finishes, you wouldn't see it. Our qualifying effort has improved off of last year and the year before. But if you look at how we performed, and that's what we've got to look at, we've got to look at how we performed, continue to perform like that, but then execute a little bit better.
The 2 hardest hits over the past 2 events have been felt by Burton and Benson. Both drivers have fallen from the top 10 in points, while overall, the team has only 2 finishes inside the top 23.
It's been up and down, but you know, that's going to happen. You know, that's just all part of it. But and we got to get a little bit better in the points. We had a pretty good. We started bad. We got a pretty good shot there, and then had 2 bad races right in a row. So, you know, we just definitely got to make the best of the rest of the year, though.
California could be a momentum turner for Roush. The team has dominated the past 3 races on a 2-mile D-shaped configuration, including Martin's winning performance last August at Michigan.
I've been looking forward to it. We went into Martinsville, and I said, we've got Martinsville and Talladega coming, but after that, we'll be okay. And so I'm looking forward to the next few races.
This is the kind of track where I don't see there'll be a lot of accidents. Everyone will pretty much, you know, mind their own business and race hard, get strung out, and that handle well are going to go to the front. One thing about it is we got a lot of people I can draw information on and try to get the John Deere Ford as close as we can.
Any of them can strike, you know, on these tracks. Musgrave has had streaks of brilliance. Jeff Burton is good to go any place. You know, Chad ran really good at Las Vegas, and I'm sure he's going to make an accounting of himself at the big tracks. Johnny Benson is ready. You know, I'm really optimistic about our chances on Saturday.
This could be the turnaround weekend as two Roush cars start inside the top 5, including Mark Martin, who starts third. The same place Jeff Gordon began his victory run last season. In Fontana, I'm Matt Yoakum reporting.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. In a few moments, we'll head back to Fontana, get caught up on the Sunday morning buzz from the garage area with Matt Yoakum. More to come on race day. We'll visit with the open wheelers. We'll take you to the Brickyard, the defending 500 champion, hoping to keep the shiny side up this month. And more on our newsmaker, the NASCAR restrictor plate. Is it still the best way to ensure big track safety and competition? If you're a motorsports fan, it's your favorite time of the year, the month of May. Almost time for the IndyCar stars to show their hands at the Speedway. After early testing, it looks as though defending 500 winner Arie Luyendyk is holding a strong hand again this year. Arie testing at more than 223. But Race Day's Will Hampton says that Luyendyk's road back to Indy this year has been plenty rough.
This incident at Phoenix landed Arie Luyendyk on his head and in 16th place in the RL point standings. It sort of sums up the first 2 races for Team Treadway.
So things haven't been going that great, but there's always time for that to change, and hopefully it'll be this race. So, I mean, we're optimistic.
The 98 season of misfortune continued for Arie Luyendyk when he was here for a tire test in early April. Just when he was getting up to speed, he spun out, hit the wall, and crunched up a pretty good race car. That's far from the glory-filled performance of a year ago. Tasting victory at the Brickyard is sweet, but tough to repeat. Al Unser was the last back-to-back winner here in 1970 and 71. It's about survival.
Yeah, it's a long race, obviously, and a lot of things can happen. You have so many pit stops. You can get involved in other people's crashes. It doesn't take much to fall behind, and once you're behind, it's hard to come back. Pretty much the idea would be to start up front and stay up front to be able to win this thing.
Back-to-back, you're the only guy that can do it this year.
Well, that's true, but, you know, statistics are statistics.
The open test session here in April brought back the smile to Arie's face. By the end of the 2-day workout, number 5 was the leader of the pack, fastest on the clock at 222.7 miles per hour, much quicker than Luyendyk's 4-lap pole-winning average in 97.
The cars are pretty much the same as last year. The rules are the same, so it's to be expected for us to be quicker this time around.
He may have sent a message, but the Flying Dutchman is really just getting started. He's supposed to run well in Indy, and no matter how much confidence the Menard drivers, Scott Sharp or Goodyear have, they all know to win Indy, you must first beat Arie Luyendyk.
We get along well off the track. I think we give each other room on the track, and would have been very easy for both of us to take each other out last year and have no cars finish in the 1-2, but, you know, cooler heads prevailed, I guess.
Well, I think people look at me to see what I do, and if they can be quicker and, you know, and faster than we are, then they're doing a good job. So, because we have a really good team with Tim as my engineer, Tim Wardrop, and Skip Fall as my crew chief. And basically, we have the same people that we had last year. So we have a good team that we know our way around here. And
he knows the way, and the plan is in place for another memorable May at the Brickyard. From Indianapolis, Will Hampton for Race Day.
Hey, thanks, Will. Arie cashes in. Winning the 500 gets him into IROC. Round 2 yesterday at the California Speedway. Jeff Gordon had grabbed the Daytona win. He's the point leader. Randy LaJoie, Tommy Kendall starting up front. Randy leads the first 3 laps. Close racing as always. Main straightaway here, Earnhardt, LaJoie, Jeff Burton, and Terry Labonte. Al Unser Jr. would be tough. He'd lead several laps, as would Gordon, but it was a Mark Martin show. Going by Gordon lap 13, leading the rest of the way for his 7th win.
I can't believe it. I never dreamed it would have turned out like that. I have incredible luck in this series. It's really great, you know. You don't have to worry about anything but going out there and putting the hammer down.
Here's how the dozen stars finished Saturday. IROC continues at Michigan and at Indy before the Brickyard later this summer. When we continue on race day, drivers know it's a roll of the dice anytime they buckle up. But NASCAR puts one issue at the top of the list when they get ready to go to the Speedway each and every weekend.
Some of the same history repeating itself.
Hard in the wall.
And the Wayne Warriors, barnstorming through the plains, will visit Nebraska with the Outlaws. Coming up. About 4 hours to go before the California 500 starts. After the on-track carnage last week, though, at Talladega, NASCAR's restrictor plate is our newsmaker this week. We've heard how the plates came to be, what drivers think of them now, but what about the future? Most of those we've heard from want changes, but that's where the agreement seems to end.
We look at three things whenever we make any decisions within NASCAR. One is safety, always first, and number two is close competition on the racetrack. But number three on our priority list is to do that at the lowest cost to the car owners.
Those safety concerns are again raising the restrictor plate issue. Most in the sport agree that forcing drivers to slow down, at least at some points on the big tracks, is a key to maintaining the margin of safety in NASCAR racing. Now, NASCAR uses restrictor plates to reduce engine power, and they add aerodynamic tweaks like roof flaps and rain gutters, side skirts to help keep the cars nailed to the racetrack. But the glut of multi-car incidents at Talladega and some at Daytona has many in the sport looking for new ways to get the job done.
Probably a good idea possibly would be maybe even cut like 50 cubes out of the engines. We're producing like 2 horsepower per cubic inch. That would be one thing. We reduce it by 100 horsepower, open the motors up at that time, and at the same time put more spoiler on the car, put more downforce in the car so that we can actually be racing out there, and that if something does happen, we hit the brakes, we have enough downforce in the cars that the cars are not going to skid across the asphalt. So it's possibly an idea like that. Let them race out there without a restrictor plate on.
Personally, I think they ought to take the plate out of it, put a great big spoiler in the back of the car, better Goodyear, have Goodyear come up with a different tire compound that is not going to allow the car to go that fast, and put more drag on the cars. You know, NASCAR can do that. Either that or knock the banks down from Daytona and Talladega and make them 20-degree bank instead of 33-degree banks.
Some drivers want to take the restrictor plates off.
Without restrictor plates, number one, the guy with more skill, the driver with more skill, the team that is better, that has better people, better equipment, better engines, all the things that allow you to go fast on every other track, he'll still be fast at Talladega. Well, I love those days when we used to slingshot by, get back and get a run and draft by someone. And without plates, we could do that.
But the idea that seems to have the most support would involve aerodynamic changes, which can be cost-effective. TNN Motorsports' Buddy Baker says changing spoiler and air dam heights and maybe making other changes would make the cars more difficult to drive and force drivers to back off.
Right now, the cars are a little too secure. I think they can lose some of the downforce, lose some of the spoiler. NASCAR's working on it, and I'm sure they'll come up with something that's suitable. I mean, they went to a 5x5 on 1.5-mile racetracks because the cars were sticking too good and they were running too fast. Well, you go to Talladega and you go back to the big spoilers where you have too much security.
Well, NASCAR officials have had little to say so far about possible changes in the rules, but you can be sure they're looking hard at the situation. You can also bet it will stay a hot topic as long as the racing stays tight, and the wrecks happen often at Daytona and Talladega. We will keep you posted. There is more to come on race day on this Sunday. We'll get down and dirty with the Pennzoil World of Outlaws skirmishing across the Great Plains this weekend. We'll head to Nebraska next. ASA Stock Car Stars in action last night. DeSoto Speedway in Florida. Scott Hansen's first win of the year in Ken Schrader's car. Hansen took advantage of a slip by Gary St. Amant in the final turn. Rookie Jimmy Johnson third. Mike Miller and St. Amant are your point leaders. Busy weekend for the Pennzoil World of Outlaws. Couple of nights at I-80 Speedway in Greenwood, Nebraska. We'll show you some of Thursday night's action. Start of the 20-lap A-Main, a big wreck. Andy Hillenberg's Deuce can't get up to speed here. Sammy Swindell, Mark Kinzer, Johnny Herrera among those involved. It cost Kinzer the point lead. Now on the restart, Hillenberg would be okay this time, gets going, tries to stay with Stevie Smith on the outside of the 19. Can't catch him, though. Smith wins $4,500 Thursday night. Hillenberg second. Jack Haudenschild is third. Friday night, still Greenwood. Mr. Smith goes to the bank once again, wins the dash on the pole for the A-Main. Hod starts alongside, but he cannot stay with Stevie, despite what you see here. Now watch this. Hod will collect Larry Neighbors. Hod hard upside down, short stop. He's okay. Not the neighborly thing to do. Late in the race, Steve Kinzer gets by Smith briefly, but can't hold the lead. Stevie doubles up in Nebraska. The King grabs second Friday night, takes over the Outlaw point lead in the bargain. Here's the rest of your top 10 from Friday. Steve Smith, Steve Kinzer, Mark Kinzer, Andy Hillenberg, and Tyler Walker the first 5. Now, this is a 4-night weekend for the Outlaws. The Winged Thunder echoing across Knoxville Raceway in Iowa last night. Jack Haudenschild bouncing back to win over Mark Kinzer, Stevie Smith, Steve Kinzer, Johnny Herrera. Hod led all the way in last night's A-Main at Knoxville Raceway. Part of the racing weekend in Fontana, California, NASCAR's revived Winston West Series. The Auto Club 200 Saturday. Familiar names, Kenny Schrader and the Skoll Chevrolet wearing the number 15. Young Truck Series star Kevin Harvick in the Spears 75. They shared the front row Saturday. Young Mike Dillon lining up third in a former RCR car, a white number 3. Hardest hit of the day, Ron Esau in the 43, lap 3, backs it into the wall. He's all right, yellow for 4 laps. This one a battle between Schrader and Harvick. They swapped the lead several times. Dillon would lead several laps after a pit stop shuffle. Ricky Logan, final caution of the day, 40 to go, into the wall in the 46, sets up a late chance for Harvick after taking left side tires. Setting up for the restart, tries to close it on Schrader, can't do it for the second straight year. And Schrader wins the Auto Club 200 at Fontana. Harvick, Alsop, Woodside, and Chase, your top 5 in the Winston West round. And there's more to come as we take a break. Here's a look at what's racing ahead on television this week. Keep it here. Race Day rolls back at you in just a moment. Back with our Mopar Performer of the Week, Stevie Smith from the World of Outlaws in the Ingersoll Rand 19. Won both races in Nebraska Thursday and Friday. Third last night at Knoxville. Stevie Smith is our Mopar Performer of the Week. About 4 hours to go until the green flies at the California Speedway. The Winston Cup stars running the California 500. Let's take you back now to Fontana. Race Day's Matt Yoakum in the garage area with the Sunday Morning Buzz. What's going on, Matt?
Well, Mike Skinner qualified the low Chevy, but Mike Dillon will take over the driving duties at the first caution. Wally Dallenbach pulls one race duty for Todd Bodine, and then will take over the Bud Chevy at the Winston Open, and then replacing Randy LaJoy after Dover. I talked to Steve Park last night from his home in Charlotte, North Carolina. Steve told me that his rehab is coming along excellent. He hopes to be testing a car sometime in mid-June, and hopefully making his comeback at either the Pepsi 400 or the first race in Loudon.
All right, thanks, Matt Yoakum in the garage area for us this morning with some of the happenings at the California Speedway. That's Race Day this Sunday. Thanks for being with us. Next week, full coverage of the Craftsman Truck Series in Washington, NASCAR's Busch Series and Busch North Series at New Hampshire. The Car Champ cars are in Rio, too. Mother's Day weekend coming up. Have a safe week. We'll see you next Sunday on Race Day, 11 o'clock Eastern Time.